Welcome to the Art of Badassery, where I explore what it takes to live life on your own terms, break free from the status quo, and unleash your inner badass. Whether you're a rebel at heart or simply seeking inspiration to step outside your comfort zone, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and each week I dive into the stories, insights, and strategies of those who have mastered the art of badassery and are living life to the fullest. They smile when no one is looking. Welcome to the Art of Badassery podcast. My name is Mahara, and I am so excited to have Atousa join us for a second time on the show. Atousa is a shaman, transformational heart-centered healer, spiritual guide, and best-selling author. She's here today to share more about her incredible journey of badassery and, of course, to talk about her latest book, Activating the Divine Human, which is now available. Atousa's work helps people release trauma and shift from fear-based living to a peaceful, heart-centered life. How beautiful is that? She's been described as a guiding light and a game changer. And today she's here to light up our show once again. Atousa, welcome. I'm so excited.
Same here. Thanks for having me back. I'm so excited.
So just as a heads up, folks, Atousa first graced my show in November of last year, and I was so grateful for her vulnerability and her authenticity on that show. So feel free to, after this one, go back and listen to that one because she's pretty cool. But can you give us a little bit of a background on why you feel you're a badass? Because that's what the show is all about. And then we're going to jump into what you're doing today.
I would say I'm a badass just because I live life in the moment and I'm present and I release pretty much all my identities and personas and roles in this life. So there's still, I think, maybe one or two that I'm still, letting go gradually. But yeah.
It wasn't always that way, though.
No, no.
Can we go
Uh,
back and just talk about that for a little,
yes,
set the stage for your badassery?
yes. So before all these started, I was pretty much in a place of fear. What I come to describe it now for people to better understand, I think pretty much since my birth, probably birth, and what I can remember very early in childhood, I was like a PTSD kid and nobody knew what's going on in me and it took me many years to see exactly how much fear I'm carrying. Imagine any given scenario from something very simple to something big. And in like a 10 seconds of doing something, I can come up with probably 5 or 10 different ways that things are gonna really go bad, like all the situation that something can happen. Like even a simple, I'm getting my coffee. Like I can come up with like 5 different things in that, just getting my coffee pot, putting it in the machine, 5 different scenarios of how things can go wrong. I'm driving at an intersection. I'm letting the dog out. I'm walking with the dog. So those are simple stuff, but everything was like scenarios of fear. Now take that into work life, relationships, motherhood, all of that, which one of my personalities or roles in life that has given me the most challenge to release has been the role as a mom, because that one's still it's been layers of fear that I'm letting go. But that's how it's been, and I think that's how I invite everyone to be a badass. Is that again, if I can do it, you can do it. If somebody having the fears that I have, the PTSD that I've had, and has been able to let it go, anybody can do it.
Wow, I can relate to that. Not from a place of PTSD, I don't believe, but from a place of self-doubt. And some days, weeks, months are just fly by without anything. And other times I will find myself kind of gasping in the middle of the day. And I realize that I'm on this bent of just a bent of fear, I guess, just imagining the worst. And I have to consciously use the tools that I now know to sort of calm myself down and rewrite the narrative in my head. So the fact that you've been living with this all your life and now have found a way to sort of navigate it in a way that works for you is really brave and very courageous. So yeah, total badass. And okay, so you've been through many you've done a lot of different things in your life before you got to being the shaman that you are today. Can you share with us a little bit about who you were before you discovered this level?
Before, yes. Who I was before was I started out in Iran, and my parents were divorced when I was really young. Probably I think it was around 2, 3-ish when they got divorced, very contentious divorce. Then we went through the whole revolution of Iran, war in Iran, immigration to US, and then I went into like school, college. I became an electrical engineer, and I worked as an engineer for a majority of my life, and got married and had a kid. And around when my son was about 2, 3, I separated and started the process for divorce. And that's pretty much when life, because all along this path, I had been sort of reading the works of these gurus and Rumi and all these other things, then trying to get to this place that they have found, this place of just being here, being in the now, letting go of those thoughts, letting go of the fears. And it was during that time that I couldn't work anymore. I would just stare at my computer screen and just could not write, could not read, could not do anything. And that's when I just stopped, took a pause, and I said, okay, this is not working. I need to do something else. And sent out a bunch of resumes. I would send out resumes every day and for different kind of jobs. I was qualified, overqualified, underqualified, and nothing. And it was a friend of mine. He said, you have these skills, you've taken, you have the skills you've developed, and you've taken classes for energy healing, and you're, master healer, whatever. Why don't you just start on that? And at that point, it was like, what do I have to lose? I'm not like, I can't find any other job. My house is in foreclosure. What do I got to lose? And that's when I said, okay, let's create a website and let's put it out there. And at the same time, I had started, doing my artwork, and somebody else said, hey, why don't you put your art out there? I'm like, okay, again, what do I got to lose at this point? And that's how everything then started from there. And as soon as I went into that place, it was so right that everything else opened up. Everything, like, I actually saw everything I knew already, everything I learned, all my tools, everything just came together very naturally. And then the release of these things that I had hold on to for so long, it just started to go in probably a flood, I would say. It was just like everything. It's like, okay, it's time to let it all out, let it all go. Cleaning house.
Cleaning house, so good. So would you say then what I'm hearing is there was you had to dive into this place of real trust that it was going to be okay, trust in yourself and your abilities, trust in your friends. Was there anything else that really came to you as an opportunity for growth in that moment where you knew, okay, conscious decision, I need to either let this go, step further away from this thought, or step into this? Can you recall?
Trust is the perfect way. I actually had this conversation with a client, and they were saying, what do I need to do? Trust. I said, trust is a 24/7 practice. Like, if you're awake, you got to trust in whatever's happening in front of me right now is part of a bigger plan, bigger picture. Everything is good because everything is for my growth and for my highest good. And I'm going to trust. No matter what's in front of me, I'm going to trust that it's connected to something else, to a bigger picture, bigger plan. And I did. There were times, and I was describing to her, I said that time that my house is in foreclosure and I just started this new business. And, I would sit and literally just shake, not shake, but like go back and forth, back and forth. And just in my head, I'm like, my eyes closed, my eyes open. I trust, I trust, I let go and trust, I trust, I trust, I let go and trust. Everything's for my, and it was constantly this was playing in my head constantly in the middle of the night when I would wake up, during the day, all the time.
I really like that because I've noticed that I have this tendency. I get what's it called when the song you can't get a song out of
Yeah,
your.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, I listen to music or I listen to books all day. I have tinnitus. I don't like to hear the buzzing, so I listen to stuff. And I find when I wake up to go to the washroom, I'll either start singing the song, like immediately I'm either singing a lyric or I'm thinking about a book and I'm just continuing the storyline in my head. But just when you were sharing that about the thinking I trust, I'm like, I want to do that. I think I would rather than singing a song from the 70s, this great beat song from the 70s, what would happen if I just had that in my head
Yeah.
instead? Okay, you heard it here first, folks. I'll keep you posted because I'm going to start changing my dialogue my inner dialogue when I don't realize it.
It works. It really works. And people, they go practice mindfulness, practice these things. And they say, well, it's not working. Well, mindfulness is not a practice that you do just during a certain time of the day. It's 24/7. And this, when you're saying trust, that is part of this mindfulness, that I'm letting go of the fears. I'm letting go of the doubts. I'm letting go of it all. And I'm trusting. I'm letting go and trusting. I'm surrendering and trusting. So that is a practice. And then imagine you do it all the time, then it becomes changes all those programming that's there already.
So powerful. One of the things that I've noticed when it comes to changing the programming, this has worked for me and I share it with my clients as well, is giving myself permission to look at things with curiosity. Because the minute I look at it from a place of curiosity, the judgment seems to go. And I don't know about you, but I can be really hard on myself without even realizing it. These limiting beliefs, this narrative that we tell ourselves for whatever reason, we're not going to go down that path. But when I was able to go, well, that's interesting. How come that look from my husband has triggered such annoyance, anger, whatever? Or how come that news article has affected me? So why am I so sad by that little clip that I just saw go across the screen? So when I came at things from a place of curiosity, first of all, it felt better. And I actually got answers, right? So I think trust can play into that as well. If we trust ourselves to know the answers or to at least ask the question, we will get what we need to know because life is happening for us. It's not happening to us.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what have you been up to since I first chatted with you in November of last year?
Yes, what's been new is that the book that I came on your show to talk about, that's done really well, and I'm super proud of that. Not just because of like the awards it's gotten, but more for the people that come and tell me like how much the book has helped them, and they carry it with them everywhere they go, and they go back to it. They've shared it with friends and family, so that was my intention when I put that book out there. The title said it, Change Yourself, Change the World. And I put it out there, all my tools that I use in my one-on-one sessions. I wanted people to have that in their hand and to be able to use it for themselves. And so to see that vision, that dream come true, it's been really amazing. And now I also, that got me to want to create a different experience for multi-author books and authors in general, such as myself, that you're not going through regular publishing. It's more self-publishing houses that you use. And I wanted a different experience. So I created a publishing company And the goal for this, and we just, had our first book, that, as you mentioned in the intro, Activating the Divine Human. And my goal for this book was to bring the collective. It wasn't like I went out and said, who wants to join and let it be open. I made the invitation to people and invited who was supposed to be part of this book and made it into a healing journey for all of them. And they've bonded. Like, people say they go to retreats, they bond with those people. This is like that. They've developed a sisterhood that it goes beyond this book, and that's what the energy of the book is. And hopefully, who knows, I'm going to publish another book through that same publishing house, and a couple of people have approached me. They want to create their books, and I've said I'm going to help them out with that.
So, so good. Before we jump into more about the book and the collaborative effect and the power of collaboration, can we just say, oh my God, celebrating you.
Thank you.
Celebrating you. So, so powerful. I think, I think there's a misunderstanding in the world that in order to celebrate or to feel successful, we have to do these amazing, like you have to be a best-selling author on the New York Times bestseller list before you can consider yourself an author. Truthfully, my story, I get it, but I think a lot of us create the same stories in our head.
Yeah.
But I want to call out that the minute we choose to be our authentic self, whether that means sitting quietly and smiling or putting your heart out there and writing a book and self-publishing or just giving it away to people that you know in your community, for example, both of those exemplify being badass and are worth celebrating. Right? I just want to call that out. So the fact that
Thank you.
So amazing. I would self-publish my first book. I will probably self-publish my second, but it is no mean feat to just say I'm worth it, to actually go ahead and do it. It's not even about the results of whether you sell a copy or not. We know that in life, when what am I trying to say? There's a residual payoff. When I smile at my neighbor smiles back. The energy in the world has changed. It just has, and that's all there is to it. When we put ourselves out there authentically and from a place of love, the world changes, and so on, and so on, and so on. So I just wanted to, little side note, say I'm proud of you. And
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and what you said is exactly true. When you move from your heart, that's exactly how I did this book. It came to me and I put it out there and it was received. And that's it. As far as I'm concerned, it's a done deal. It's,
so good.
It's made its way out there and it's doing the work.
That's powerful. So first of all, I do want to highlight that you did the artwork for your new book. Do you have it? Can you show it?
Oh, yeah.
Of course she does.
The artwork for the other one was mine too, and this is mine.
Awesome. So what's the biggest challenge about publishing or creating a publishing house?
The only challenge I would say with this one is that because of the way I was doing it, and I wanted to bring everybody together to really connect and that sisterhood, that bond, to create that bond, it required a lot more time and effort from me to be in it, to bring everybody together. And that's the only thing I miscalculated. When I did the calculations in my head, like, yeah, it's gonna be easy. But I didn't see that one, like how much of my time was needed in there. But everything else, honestly, it just came together so naturally. And one of the things was that everything in this book was a collaborative effort, like meaning even the cover art, the cover title, everything. It wasn't like I chose it and I went to them and said, okay, here's the book. I said, no, we are doing everything together. We're going to decide everything together. And from the title, from the art, And again, art took a little bit longer just because everybody had an input of what they wanted to see. I was creating it, but again, it's like, well, I want it this way. I like this part. I don't want that part. So bringing all that together. And also, there were a lot of times, there were a couple of the authors. I can probably, right top of my head, think of 4 people that they wanted to quit because it was so hard. It was so hard to put their stories out there. Everybody was getting triggered, and I was helping them get triggered. I would put things in there for them to like in the group chat for them to get triggered. I said, let's bring these out, guys. We need to bring these out.
Okay, I got to jump in here and say, holy hell, that takes guts to do that, because everybody on this journey has experiences of being triggered, and it is not comfortable. Yeah. And sometimes, and I'm speaking totally for myself here, I will do the work, get triggered, do the work, and get to a place where I'm like, okay, I got that. I got this. I feel good. I don't want to be triggered again. Please, God, universe, can I just have 6 months? And they're like, no, you can have 6 days. Right. And then something will happen. So I do want to call out how brave it was for you to take that approach. But can you say now, after the fact, that it was worth it? What you got from—
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
good.
God, yes.
So good.
Yes, 100% yes. Just the um energy of these guys, the amount of growth they had, and to see them now when this book came out, like there are no words. There are honestly no words at all. And I'm proud of every single one of them. And they keep coming back. They was like, no, Atousa, I can't do it. I'm like, you can do it. Let's have a chat. Let's have it. Anybody that would say, Atousa, I'm quitting, I'm like, let's have a chat. And I told them, I went on the group chat. I told everybody, I had a meeting. I said, we are not going to publish this book until this is a ship. We're not going to let anybody abandon this ship. This ship is making it to the destination with everyone in it. Everybody, the crew, everybody's going together. If we have to push the date out, we're going to push the date out, because my goal is not to publish a book on a certain day. My goal is to get you guys from here to there, and everybody has to go.
All right. So did you realize that you were going to be in that role? Because to me, that sounds a little different than your average publisher, right? That's you're coaching as well. So
yeah.
Was that a surprise to you that you ended up coaching and sort of being the mother figure? And I put that into words, not, you didn't say that, but I got this vision of you sort of corralling your group of women and saying, you got this, we can do this. There's a vision, stick with the vision. You got this, I'm here for you. Was that a surprise?
It was not a surprise. Again, it was the amount of time it took. I think I underestimated the time of it. Time wise, it's like, oh yeah, this, in my head, it's like, yeah, that's gonna be easy. But there are 11 people that I'm trying to bring together with all their triggers, different triggers, to let go, be vulnerable, and they're getting triggered, and I'm trying to get them from one point to another. So it took a lot of time and effort, but every single minute I spent on this book was worth it, definitely.
Oh, so good. Were you also, and this is just for me out of curiosity's sake, with multi-author books, is there one editor for the entire book, or does each author edit themselves or bring it, how does that actually work?
So that was the other thing I tried to do, because again, my own feeling was that a lot of the multi-author books, they don't go through a very thorough editing. For my own book, I did a very thorough editing for my solo book. So for this one, I wanted the same thing. So I actually made the team, because that was also part of our bonding, that everybody had to edit each other's work. And it wasn't just like I edit yours and that's it. So it had to go through multiple revisions of editing with different people in the group. That way they're also connected in that way. And then I had an editor that edited everybody's chapter, like the whole book.
Did you find that process of editing each other was part of the triggering?
It was. Again, I did it all for purpose. I said, you know, everybody, I made a mandate, like everybody has to have at least 3 edits from 3 different people. And then that was the first round. Now, second round, you're going to do it again, but not use the first 3. You're going to use 3 different people for this round. So by that time, I mean, everybody had gotten, you know, all their, I don't know if I can get all their shit out. And okay, they got all their shit out and all their triggers out. And that's why, like, I mean, like when the book came together and we were ready to publish, I went in there, like when it was actually coming out, I said, anybody triggered right now? And everybody was like, nope, just excited.
So good. And it's almost that what you've just described is the healing journey
Yeah.
of trust,
Yeah.
curiosity, and action.
Yeah.
Trust, curiosity, you know, that this idea of this is how we feel better about our lives. This is how we feel better about ourselves. So exciting. Okay, so talk to us about the book. What's the underlying message of the book?
The Activating Divine Human, the underlying message is the subtitle, which is embracing our shadows as well as our light. Because, and my chapter in there pretty much describes the activating the divine self of how to bring that shadow and light together as one. Because when we're playing in this duality, that's where all the fears are happening. That's when all the roles and identities we play in our life, that's where it's happening. But if we come and embrace all of it as good, again, the judge actually, I talk about it in the book about this judge role or judge identity that we all carry, and which doesn't let us, because if we keep playing it in here, in the good and bad, in the shadow and light, once we look at everything is good, everything is right, then we're outside of this. We can let these identities go because we don't need it anymore. We can be just truly ourselves in every single moment and not let, you know, the stories of the past create stories in the future. We don't need to carry any of the stories anymore because there isn't a role or an identity that goes along with this story.
So powerful. What's the biggest thing you learned about yourself in this particular process that you've just described?
The process started actually with my first book. And when I was writing that, I was already writing this chapter in this one.
Of
And
course
when
you
I
were.
was writing, exactly, when I was writing the chapter, I was like, okay, I can see this is going to be a book by itself because I'm getting so much stuff that I just can't put it in here. So, but the process was really what I described in my first book is that start becoming aware of all these characters you're playing in your life, in this movie you're calling life, and step out of the movie, step out of these characters. But in order to do that, the first step, as you've mentioned, you got to become aware. You really have to go inside and be aware of everything that's coming up, all these thoughts, all these emotions, and you got to accept it. Really bring it in and accept it about yourself. Again, take that label of good and bad out of it. And then you start to see, as you said it earlier too, you go in there and figure out, oh, I'm getting triggered. Let me go back and see why. Why am I getting triggered? And when you find the identity, hey, do I want to keep this person alive still and play this character in this movie? No, because as long as you keep that character, everything happens. And that was the process of me seeing some of my, a lot of the identities that I had let go of, but also some that I was still carrying, which carry to this day still, my mom figure. And, you know, the characters that I had built new ones because of this new role I was in as a healer, as a shaman, whatever you want to call it, that I thought I had to be a certain way. And then it's like, oh no, we're not creating anybody new. We're letting go of people.
Right.
So I had to start letting go of the new ones that I had created as well.
So good. And, you know, for those that are listening, if anybody listening is like, what the hell are these girls talking about? Like, WTF? Characters, huh? I think a simple way to describe it or to understand it is to just listen to what you're saying. And it may not even be your voice that you hear.
Yeah.
We have these narratives that play. It may be, you may hear your dad talking to you, maybe your mom, it doesn't matter. But our brain is an amazing organ and it never stops.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute we can be aware of our thoughts, then that's our first step to growth, right? In coaching, there's awareness, acceptance, and aligned action. Those are the three
Mm-hmm.
steps of how I call it. And to your point, it may not be easy, but awareness is the first step. You can't try and jump that step because you're just faking it, right? You're just
Yeah.
pretending. But you got to get aware of who you are. Part of being a badass, recognizing who you are without judgment. Interesting. Okay. Now I get it. All right. You know what? I still like that girl. That girl's pretty cool. What I like to say next is what's the next best action? What's the next small thing that I can do to help me solidify this new understanding of who I am? Help me get closer to where I want to go and who I want to be. So when you think back, and thank you for letting me do that little aside piece.
Yes.
When you think back to the book, and now that it's finished, and the sisterhood that you've created with these 11 souls, are there 12 in total, or are you part
Well,
of
12 with me, 11.
12 in total?
Yeah.
What's been the biggest growth that you've seen for the group as a whole?
Less fear. Definitely less fear. More willing to be themselves and put themselves out there. More trust for sure. And they all started things that they hadn't started when we started the book, meaning like two of them really got into their artwork and they started actually putting their artwork out there that they hadn't done before. There was one of them that, she's really now on the path of switching her job. So it was all these changes that everybody were more willing to put themselves out there because they're like, hey, if these guys have my back and these guys love and support me, why not? Let me go put it out there and see who else is going to like this.
Oh, good. So really sounds like they became very empowered,
Yes.
more so
Yeah.
than perhaps before. I have a
Yes.
question for you. Do you think the absence of fear is enough? Because I'm wondering if it is really in stages, or if for some of us, it's the minute that fear lessens, the excitement grows, for example, or the belief grows. Or do you think that there's something that comes, you lessen the fear and you have to work on bringing something else up? Does that make sense?
Yes. I would say it's together. It's not a lesson. The fear is always there. It's just, I think that initial step to accept the fear and be willing to say it's okay to have this fear and move beyond it. It's just a small step into the fear, leaning into the fear more rather than say, hey, I'm just going to wait here until this fear goes away. The fear is not going to go away, especially if you're someone like me. Like if I had sit there and said, oh, I'm going to wait until these fears go away, my brain would have said, oh, let's party here. I have so many fears for you. We can sit here until you pretty much are skin and bones.
Okay, so is it more than a case of navigating our fears, whatever, because it
Yes.
look different for different people. Some of us
Yes.
may say, I don't have that fear anymore because I really understand the roots of it, and that's not me anymore. Sometimes we may say, you're still there, but you're not bugging me. I'm not as afraid because I'm
Yes.
understanding. All right. So I like that. Navigating our fear. Would you say that whether we realize it or not, that is part of the human experience every time we're here, is learning how to navigate it?
I say it a little bit differently. I say the reason we are in this human form to recognize our, again, everybody has a different name for this place, whether they call it I am, the divine, God self, higher consciousness, higher self, whatever you want to call it. That space, recognition of that space, that I am beyond this physical experience. I am beyond these characters I've created. I am beyond all these things that I'm perceiving as good, bad, ugly, different. This again, everything that I mentioned is in that circle of shadow and light that we keep playing against. Coming out of it and looking at ourselves that I am soul, I am God, I am divine, and I'm in this human physical form. And the only thing is for me is be in this moment, be fully present in this moment. Not that, oh, I'm in this moment, but my mind is creating something new. Oh, I'm in this moment, but I'm really actually this identity. To really be from a place of that, just being present without any attachment to a desire or an outcome or wanting anything, just simply being. That's the, I think, the recognition that we're here to get to.
It sounds beautiful, and I happen to agree with you. But I would be remiss if I didn't say, yeah, but how the hell do you do that? I've got bills to pay. I've got kids that are, pulling on my skirts. I've got email that never stops dinging. For those for those of us that struggle with being present, and I don't count myself there anymore because I've learned a lot myself. My business is called
Yes.
Mindfulness with Mahara. But what would you share are some very basic tips to get us started on being aware and being present?
Anytime you start a thought or a word or a sentence with I, start listening what you're saying after that I, because you're telling a story. Anytime you point your finger out at somebody, a situation, for whatever reason, that, oh, I'm angry or I'm afraid of, the it's going outward, turn it back in. That's the awareness. It's like, okay, that's great, but why am I? Again, everything comes back to that I. Why am I being triggered? And be gentle and easy with yourself. Really, this is not a process that everybody wants a magic bullet. Everybody wants to get there now. You are not going to get there right away. Nobody is. It's a lifetime process. And it's just a practice. You're shedding and shedding, and it's a discovery of yourself. Be loving and kind. See yourself, your life, everyone in it with that eyes of love. That's how you're going to get there. Just start step by step and just say, yes, yes, I want to get there. Every time the fear comes, say, yes, even with this fear, that's where I'm headed. That's where I want to go.
So good. I especially like the idea of saying yes to the fear, because I truly believe that all of our emotions are signposts if we're willing to look for it, right? They're coming up for a reason. And when we have
Mhm.
the fear, it can either, in my case, it's either really highlighted that something is what I want, or that I want to go. Let me rephrase that. It's either gives me a sign that I'm moving in the right direction because what I want so badly, or I desperately want to move away from something. I may not know where I'm going, but I know that I really am not happy in this place. So look at fear as an opportunity for growth because it's telling you something. It really tells
Yes.
you something. So I really thank you for that gentle reminder. And of course, as a badass, and all of you listening are badasses too, look at life through a lens of love and grace. You're here for a reason. You have gifts. You're special. You're loved. You're beautiful. And start your
Yes.
day and every moment if you can with that foremost in your mind, and you will skyrocket to wherever it is that you want to go. Atousa, tell us a little bit more about how we can get your book. I will, of course, have links in the show notes, but what's the best way for our listeners to experience this amazing book?
Thank you. Thank you. The books are both on Amazon, and my book actually, the first book, Change Yourself, Change the World, that's coming out in audiobook, so it's going to be on Audible soon. But the ebook, paperback on Amazon.
Fantastic. Well, I can't thank you enough for being with us today, giving us an update on where you're at. I've got your book. I've just started it. I'm so excited, and I'm really proud of you and the efforts of all of the
Thank
women.
you.
It takes it takes some badassery to put yourself out there, but it's so worth it because your stories, all of our stories, need to be shared. So thank you again for this time. And I look forward to the next conversation. Everyone, we'll see you next week on the Art of Badassery. Thanks for tuning in to another badass episode. Your support means the world to me. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, don't forget to like, share, and rate the episode on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback keeps the badassery flowing. And hey, if you're ready to unleash your inner badass and conquer whatever life throws your way, why not book a complimentary badass breakthrough session? Just click the link in the show notes to schedule your session, and let's kick some serious butt together. Until next time, stay fearless, stay fabulous, and of course, stay badass. This is Mahara signing off.